What's up friends, Chook here, and welcome to my Monster Hunter World weapon guide. This guide is aimed at players new to the series, and anyone that may not know or understand how the weapons work, and is looking for a little help. On the surface, the combat of Monster Hunter series may look fairly basic, but there's a lot more to it than people realise. Hopefully I can help you understand the mechanics a little bit better, and now that's all said and done, let's begin. The Charge Blade. So the Charge Blade would have to be the most technical weapon out of all of the weapons in Monster Hunter series. The reason for that is that there's quite a few things you can do with it in both sword mode and axe mode. So to start off with, if you're in sheathed like this, you have no weapon out. If you just press triangle, you'll come out into sword and shield mode. However, if you hold down the right trigger, or R2, you'll come out into axe mode. So depending on what mode you want to come out into, you can pick either of those to come into axe or into sword. Now, before we start too far, let's go into the Hunter notes, as always, and have a read. So there's all the buttons there on the left, and this is another charging weapon, as you can imagine, being called the Charge Blade. Okay, charge gauge. Attack in sword mode to build up sword energy. Build up too much energy and attacks will bounce off. Performing charge files while the gauge is yellow or above to fill a file, which is to be used in axe mode to perform powerful attacks. Okay, attacks that block. Some sword modes have blocking frames, like at the end of spinning slash or at the start of morph slash. If an attack hits you while your shield is facing forward, you'll block automatically. This is called a guard point. I'll get into that in a sec. And charged attacks. Condensing elemental slash and charged double slash will not execute properly if you hold the button for too long. Release the button at the right time to use these moves successfully. Alright, so these are the controls for the axe. These are the useful combos, times 2, because there's a lot. As I said, it's very versatile, but we're about to go through everything. So the bread and butter with this weapon is that you want to charge your files. Now, the way you charge your files is attacking in sword mode. No matter what attack you do, it will charge your files, but I'll just spam triangle at the moment. You see under our weapon durability, you see that eventually it will go yellow. Those files will go yellow. Now, if you charge the files while they're yellow, you'll get 3. So if I hold down R2, and you can see that R2 in circle does charge files, you'll see that we get 3 files. However, if you charge up to red, so I'll just quickly charge, and you charge the files, you'll get all 5. Now, while these files are charged, in sword mode, it does nothing. But while you're in axe mode, so if we press, hold R2 and press triangle to stop the axe mode. Now, if we attack with our heavy button, so our circle button, you'll see that we use one of those files, and it does some extra damage. So that's the basic understanding of the files. Now what you need to learn from there, as I said, this weapon has a lot going for it. It's going to be hard to understand, so I'll try and go slowly. Is, if we charge our files up, and the best way to charge your files is if you hold down circle, you'll get this charge move. Now if you don't release it at the right time, which is what it was saying in the Hunter notes, it doesn't do as much damage. So if you hold it down until it's charged like that and let go, you'll do the 2 attacks like that. That's the best way to charge your files. But you can add on to that. So you can go and then press triangle to do a spinning slash. Or what I prefer to do is to do this and then triangle and circle together. And you do that shield thrust. I like doing that a little bit better. I think the damage numbers are about the same, but I find with this one, you move more, whereas with this one, it's quicker, and you don't move as much. So depending on what you want, you should, use either or both of them. They're both good, but that's definitely the best way to charge your files instead of just going up and spamming triangle, which takes a while. Now, we've got 5 files saved at the moment, and then we've got 5 new files that are ready to be charged. So, what you can do is when you have 5 files, available to you, you can store them in your shield. The way to do this is to do an amped element discharge in axe mode. So you can see there, if we press both of the attack buttons at once, we'll do an amped element discharge. I'll show you what that is first. That's what it is. It uses, if you only, in this form where we only have the 5 files in our weapon, that's what it does. It just does a big attack, effectively. But if you do that move and press R2 while doing that move, like this, you will store those 5 files into your shield. And now you can see that your shield is glowing red. Your shield has gone from a sword and shield type shield, which will block and guard things, but you'll still take a bit of damage and knockback and everything, to a lance or gun lance shield where you will have a lot more protection. So this is effectively like a super shield. Now we do have those 5 files in our thing ready to be stored. So let's charge them up. So now we have 5 files in our weapon and we have 5 files in our shield. Now if we go back to axe mode and we do that super elemental charge again, instead of using just the 1 file, because we have the 5 files stored in our shield, which is now our axe head, hopefully you're following this, it will use all 5 files and do massive damage. So watch this. So we used all 5 of our files there instead of just the 1. Now we need to then get our files back. Just by, I'm not too worried what moves I'm doing here, but also showcasing the sliding move. So once they're charged, we now have the 5 files in our weapon again and 5 files in our shield. So you can do that big damage on your axe again. Now, there's many ways to get to that big elemental discharge in your axe. You can see the shield and our durability is now blinking. That means it's going to disappear fairly shortly. It's now glowing yellow. If you remember, 3 files was yellow, so it's like it goes from red to yellow to nothing. But while we're in our axe mode, you remember before, if we would just press circle, we did 1 file attack. You can follow that up by doing 2. And if you press it a 3rd time, you'll do that massive move. And you'll use all of your files. By doing that, you get the 2 attacks off, and then the 3rd one will use the rest of your files. However, if you use... we don't have any files at the moment, so it won't work. But if you use that move, the supercharge attack, with all 5 files, it'll get rid of them all at once. Now, the way to use that is to use it on a monster that is vulnerable. So if there's a monster in a trap, you've just mounted it, it's sleeping, something like that, where you know 100% that you're going to be able to hit it, you can use that big combo or that bigger hit, and it will do huge damage. But as I mentioned, there are other ways to get into that move. So let's just get some files. Let's transfer them into our axe. Into our shield, I should say. Let's get some more files. Did not mean to do that. Okay, so you saw before that we did, after this attack, we did this shield thrust. Now you can do that shield thrust by pressing triangle and circle. We'll do this /. If you then press triangle and circle again, after that /, you'll do that shield thrust. If you then press triangle and circle again, you will do your ultimate 5 charge unload hell move. So once, twice, 3 times. And that will get rid of all your files and do huge damage. Again, if you have the opening to do that, it's amazing. Now what's cool about that is, say you have your files. Say we didn't have a red shield right now. Say we had no shield and we wanted to transfer our files into our shield. Instead of having to swap to axe by pressing, holding our block and then pressing triangle to go into here, then to do the super move and then press right trigger to transfer it, what you can do instead is do that combo, and while you're doing that, while the massive move is coming off, you can press block and transfer it that way. It's a lot quicker than doing that. Also, it's quite good damage. So that's a really quick way of getting to that point. Now, one thing to know with the file charging is this. Let me just quickly sharpen my weapon. As you're charging your weapon, you will go from white to yellow to red. Once you're in red, you need to charge those files. If you keep attacking, eventually you'll charge too much and you'll bounce. And then every attack you do, you can see that the files underneath that durability are flashing now. Every attack you do from here on with the sword will bounce. The only way to get rid of that is to charge them. So you want to get to red files as quickly as you can, because that's the way to do the most damage. But once you're in this part of the red, charge them straight away. Don't keep attacking, because you will eventually start to bounce, and that's not what you want to do. Okay, now we've got the files understood, hopefully, enough at least. There's just the basic combos. So you can see the basic combo here is triangle and circle together, do that forward lunge, and then triangle, triangle. You can do the sword combo to boost sword mode, which is... I'm not too sure about that one actually. Hang on, let me try that again. Okay, so there's another way to charge. I wasn't actually sure that existed, so that's cool. And then the elemental discharge, you can do this. Oops. Oh, that's in axe mode. My bad. So with your sword, the most the best combo you should be doing most of the time is, according to me at least, is holding down the B button, doing that, and then either following up with a triangle or following up with the circle triangle to do the shield thing. And remember, from that shield thing, you can do your massive move. That's why I prefer it as well. So you can go straight into that. Now remember, it didn't go off, didn't do the massive charge, use all 5 files, because we don't have the red charge in our shield at the moment. So if we were to do this, now we do. So that's basically the sword and shield. While you are attacking, if you press forward and B, so when you're standing still, if you press B, hold B, circle, sorry, not B, I'm talking Xbox. If you hold circle, you'll do this charge move, which we've been over quite a few times now. However, if you're moving after an attack and you press circle, you'll do this slide move, which could be cool to avoid attacks and everything. So say you're attacking this thing, you're doing whatever, and you can just slide around the back of it, etc. That's your basic bread and butter for your sword, but the sword is all to charge your files for your axe. The axe is where you get the damage. Alright, let's just get the rest of these files. While you're in axe mode, you can just spam triangle, and that will do this move forever. Now, this isn't really that high of a damaging move, but it does have quite good reach. So if there's a monster in the air, or you're trying to hit something tall in the head, or something like that, you can get quite high with that attack. You can also launch your friends into the sky with it, which is quite fun. But the main thing you will be wanting to do is using your circle moves for the elemental discharge, and then obviously the big ultimate elemental discharge, which uses all of the files. Now, what else there is, I told you that this weapon is versatile. This is definitely going to be the longest of the tutorials, is that there are transforming moves. So while you're in sword mode, you can then transfer into axe and then transfer back into sword, etc. So say you're in axe mode and you're hitting away, and then you can press R2 to transform back into transform back into sword mode. I'm not going to go through all of those, but effectively, while you're fighting in one mode, if you press the R2 at a certain time, you will then transform back from one mode to the other mode. It is effectively what that's all about. Now, there's one more thing that we need to cover, and that is guard points. Now, I mentioned that right at the start of the video. And what guard points are, is after certain attacks, you will have your shield in front of you. If you get hit while you're in that animation, you will automatically block. So, for instance, the triple triangle move, where you have the spinning slash at the end. I'll try and do it this way. You can see there, our shield is in front of us, right at the end there. There. If something attacks you while that shield is in front of you, that's called a guard point. And depending on what type of switch axe you use, what type of charge blade you're using, will dictate what happens. So if you're using an impact charge blade, you could, in fact, KO, stun a monster by hitting them with that guard point. The easiest one to do, though, is to go from sword mode like this into axe mode by holding R2 and pressing triangle. And then also coming back out. So coming back out of axe mode, we'll do that spinning slash, just like the third triangle we were talking about. That's a guard point right there. And when you change into axe mode, that's a guard point right there. So whenever you're attacking and your shield is in front of you, that's a guard point. So to showcase that, it's really hard to do, and you will need to practice quite a lot to get it down. But once you do it, it's really useful. Let's showcase it by hitting this barrel, right? Now, as it's about to explode, if I change into axe mode, I didn't take any damage there. That wasn't just a block. That was an actual guard point. You see that I was going to transform, but then I did the guard point instead. Now, from that, you can do multiple things. You can go into, if you just press triangle, you'll morph straight into your axe. If you press circle, well, press circle, you do nothing. But the coolest one, and the most useful one, I would think, is if you do it, and then you press triangle and circle, you'll go into your big super move. So let me charge up some files and I'll go through that. Okay, we've got that one. Again, the easiest way to get into charge files is to do that triple triangle and circle combo. And the charged up circle and then circle triangle combo is my preferred way of charging up files, if you can. Obviously, each different fight is going to dictate what you need to do, but that's my preferred way of doing it. So now we have double charge. We've got to charge in our sword and shield, and everything's all good. So if we do a guard point here, we can go straight into super destroy everything attack. So the guard points are really handy, but will take a while to get used to. I suggest fighting against monsters that are very predictable, maybe some early monsters or monsters that you're comfortable against fighting to practice. It is quite a big part of the weapon. If you're not using it, you're not using the weapon to its full extent. However, it can take quite a while to get the hang of it. I don't even have the hang of it. I still stuff it up quite a bit, and I've been playing Monster Hunter since Monster Hunter 3, Monster Hunter Tri. Even though the Charge Blade wasn't in that game. I don't think it was introduced into the next game, I believe. Either way, doesn't matter. That's effectively what the Charge Blade is all about. It's quite technical. It's got a lot going for it. It's super versatile. It kind of does the best of everything. You've got when you've got red shield, you've got an awesome shield. When you've got the red charge on your shield, I should say, you've got an awesome shield. You've got the flexibility of sword and shield mode, where you can do all this really quick attacks and move around the place. you've got your axe mode, which can hit quite high in the sky to knock monsters down from up in the air or whatever. And then you have your elemental discharge moves. Whether you do it in a combo like that, which obviously takes quite a while, so you would only really want to do that triple circle combo when a monster's down and out, right? When you know that you can 100% get the attack off. Or you can do the quick combo like that to get into your massive discharge. But hopefully that made some form of sense, because I know that a lot of new players come to this series, see this weapon, they go, oh, that's freaking cool, it's a sword and an axe, kind of like the Switchblade. But it's really, really technical with all of its charge files and guard points and all that sort of stuff. So I hope I was easy enough to understand. I understand that it is quite a hard thing to wrap your head around. But if there wasn't anything that I was too clear on, maybe just go back and rewatch that part a few times. Or ask me in the comments, and I'm more than happy to try and help you understand a little bit further. But that is the Charge Blade. Pretty awesome. It's one of my favorites. Definitely the most technical, but once you get it down, you can basically just choose it for any hunt and it'll be reliable for you. Alright, well, as always, let me know if you learnt something. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.